All right, welcome back, everybody. This is 2026. Team JadaPay is coming in hot this year. We spent the last year making a lot of changes, and we want to go ahead and come into this new year not not as a resolution, because we ended out the last year by making the changes, so that way it's more of a momentum starter, a growth grabber. Um, as always, well, my name is Brian with JadaPay, and I'm joined by Mitch, and together we are the Bearded Brothers. Without our bearded brother JP, Mitch, I got to ask though, how
All
long
right.
did it take? What do you do? What's your beard growth technique? Do you have oil? What do you do for this? Because it looks so good. It looks perfect.
It does. It looks amazing. I actually worked on this for about 5 minutes this morning, and that's it. I'm done. This is what you got. 5 minutes of work. How about you? How about you?
It's about the same, about 5 minutes. I have a pretty regimented routine. Obviously, when it's this long, I can't just let it go. There's certain things I do have to do almost on a daily basis. One of the things is I have to wash and condition it.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's not soft hair. It's very coarse hair and very
Okay.
unenjoyable.
All right.
Um, I do have an oil and a balm that I like to use, but I don't do those on a daily basis anymore. The conditioning, I just use a um, my wife has a conditioner that I make her buy in bulk now, and I
Okay.
just use that
Well, it
that
looks
conditioner.
amazing. It looks amazing. I gotta say, I actually don't use oil. What I use is actually called aftershave, whatever that means. And
Huh.
I
Huh.
use it about every 2 to 3 days. About every 2 to 3 days.
Is that that's the Home Alone thing, right? You know the
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
oh
Dude, I must have
that
seen that probably 10 times this holiday season. Do you know that that's the number one watched popular Christmas holiday movie of all time?
is it really?
Yep, little fun fact trivia for you. Yeah, I thought that it might be, Miracle on 34th Street, like some of the classics, but
Right.
Home Alone Part 1 is the most requested, the most popular holiday movie of all time.
What does Macaulay Culkin make off of Home Alone? Do we know?
I don't, but you know what? I saw a documentary on him because he went through a phase where he vanished. So
Yeah.
there were rumors speculating. So it was a real interesting documentary that I watched during the holiday season, and basically it explained how he was forced into acting. He didn't want to do it. His father was very controlling with that, and then his father would say, "I want to be off for," or Macaulay would say that I want to be off. I want to take a break for a year or two. Then as soon as he gets done shooting one movie, he's in another one. So that just kind of laid a little bit, negativity with him. But once he finally stood up for himself, he actually had to call the cops on his father for a particular situation. He got a voice. He became, heard, and he took a break. He was burnt out. A lot of the rumors, the that he was dying and stuff like that, were just speculation because nobody really knew the story. It was a neat documentary. I really enjoyed
That's
it.
Yeah, he resurfaced. I know he vanished for quite some time, and you're right. I mean, there was a lot of speculation, and oddly enough, today's topic is about mental health. So it's interesting that that was
Hmm.
the segue that we had, and also that really fits well with the quote of the day too.
Yeah.
Because he reached that moment in time. So why don't you give us the quote?
All right. So the quote that I shared with our team today is one that I'd never heard before. And Brian, you and I, we talk about quotes and motivation, and quotes are always great, but unless they're implemented and you stick to them and stuff. But I heard one a few days ago I'd never heard before, and it goes like this: "What you're not changing, you are choosing. What you're not changing, you are choosing." If you think about that, that is huge. That it's huge. I've never heard that before. And then since I heard it a few days ago, so many areas of my life I could see where it's applicable, and just how easy it is to become set in a particular routine. And we have a lot of good work habits, but a lot of time, even though your work habits can be good, if you're not changing it, you're choosing it. So sometimes I can speak for myself where I may get a little complacent and just robotic with the same thing because it works. But that quote over the last few days, I just started putting it in different areas of my life. I'm like, wow, that's huge. That's huge. There's a place where I can implement it, and it really hit me with an impact. And then not
Yeah,
many quotes do, but that one got me. That was good. That was really good.
that is. I mean, and that's. I mean, it's such a tough thing to think about and to implement because it's easy, like you said, use the word complacent, which is my one of my favorite words to describe a lot of scenarios and situations. But to actually have a voice like Macaulay Culkin finally did, and it
Hmm.
doesn't matter how old you are, at that moment in time, you're 53 years old,
53. Yeah.
53 years old, and we were just talking a little bit about some of the changes that you're making because you finally said, I'm not choosing this no more.
Right.
I have a goal weight, I have a fitness level standard that I want to be.
Yep.
And so, Macaulay make that he had that voice, he made that choice to not accept it because it's not just what you do for a living, the people around you, the hobbies you have, what you do for yourself. I mean, like you said, there's so many different areas of your life that you can either just choose and maintain, or you can make that change.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely. Yep. Because if you're not changing it, you're choosing it. Bottom line.
right.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, I mean, that resonated. That hit me hard today because
Hmm.
over the last year, we were obviously dedicated to getting this thing off the ground to where it's more of a turnkey. But what had happened was, while it did get there, it also took a lot too. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of effort, the grind. Because I always look at it at the same time. There's another quote that I work the way that I do today, so I don't have to tomorrow.
Exactly.
Well, in the same component, it's you also just can't lose sight of what makes you tick. And I'm not talking about your why in this podcast. I'm heavily, heavily going to talk about mental health. Something that is not really popular to talk about. Obviously, it's something that's been on the forefront of a lot of conversations, medical, veteran specific, and I'm going to go a lot into the veteran component. But I'll start it out by saying this. And this, we might get a little serious on this one. We'll try to have some um, levity, I guess, towards the end of this to help brighten the mood a little bit. But just like Macaulay Culkin, just like myself, just like people. I mean, I'll let people talk about say what they want to say, but trauma's trauma. Doesn't matter where it happened, doesn't matter how it happened. Trauma impacts people in a different way. And if anybody ever tells you that your mindset's wrong just because you're dealing with some trauma, then they're masking their own trauma. What I'm going to tell you right now is it's okay. I mean, we all heard this one, but it's okay to not be okay. Over this last year, I had reached that moment where I was no longer feeling the joy from everything that I was doing. And it wasn't until the end of the year when I got sick and I was actually away from my computer for about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, where I didn't even open it, that I recognized that I had gotten away from a lot of the things that did bring me joy. Now, being in this environment, being in business, all that stuff brings me some joy, but I I left some of those things that just meant a lot to me to the side because I was like, I'll get back to it. I'll get back to it. I'll get back to it. And I wasn't understanding why I was grumpy and I was impacting, my mental health.
Yeah.
Um, you got to address it. You got to say something. You got to be able to recognize what it is. Sometimes it's late, and that's okay. We all come back around. Trauma's trauma, and it's not necessarily something. It's just like addiction. It's a lifelong journey, one day at a time.
Hmm.
You're going to be working on yourself forever. If you're not, then you're not moving forward in any capacity, to be honest. I mean, you have to really think about what are you going to do for yourself. Mitch was talking to me today about his fitness goals.
Yeah.
The number one what do you call that? Not prognosis. Whenever the doctors prescribe, the number one prescription for mental illness is fitness.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I used to be like really into fitness. I'd hit the gym and I was ripped. I was just feeling great. I ate, breathed, and slept the gym, working out. So then I got into Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and with Jiu Jitsu, my tournaments, my training, that cardio level really took off. But I got so addicted to Jiu Jitsu that I let the weightlifting side out of it. I was strictly cardio without the weight management, and it really hit me. I was watching a just home video, home movie. I guess we don't have video now. A recording of, like, me interacting with family and stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I put on a couple pounds, which I can definitely tell and feel. But looking back to where I was, and what I'm not changing, I'm choosing, and it's so easy to get caught up with, whether it's work or jujitsu, and it was really a visual eye opener of what I've neglected. I still got my cardio, I feel good, but as I'm getting older, it's very important to just realize that, hey, it's not as easy to lose that weight, or the 5 or 10 cookies that I eat before bed, may have a little bit different of an impact on me. So my cousin Chris, I reached out to him prior to the first, and I told him what my goals were, what I wanted to do, how much time I had to work out each day, and he wrote a workout regimen for me, and I was excited. And as you can see right now, I've got my second thing of water. I'm tracking my water. I laid out my vitamins, my supplements, my breakfast, everything last night to start the first Monday of the year, with a goal. And I had that wake up call with, what you're not changing, you're choosing. And I've got a body type that'll respond relatively quick, but my personality is really addictive. Once I get into it and get in that habit, or that routine, after 3 or 4 weeks, I'll just be like right back where I was before, where it's something I slipped away from. I slipped away from that.
What since we're on this topic of fitness, I mean, how long do you plan on spending in the gym? How long, you said you had a certain amount of time to be able to work out. What was that time?
So the actual gym time is 45 to 60 minutes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then on Tuesday and Thursday is cardio. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the program he worked out for me is weights for about 45 to 60 minutes, depending on the sets and the exercises, and then follow up with 10 to 15 minutes of cardio after the weights. So I'm going to do a little bit of cardio after each weight session, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but Tuesday, Thursday is strictly 35 minutes of cardio only.
Still get to eat your 5 cookies?
That's funny, because I asked myself, do I want to work out so I can eat whatever I want and it burns itself off? Or do I want to eat, or do I want to work out so I can, look the way that I want to look, and hit my goals, and just be really, and I I love my cookies. So once I get to the physical goal I'm looking to get, then I'll probably just maintain. I love my cookies, and if I know I'm gonna have a few cookies, I might do an extra 10 minutes of the cardio to burn it off. But I want to live. I want to enjoy life. I definitely want to enjoy life. So I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out, but my number one is heart healthy. Keep my cardio up, and if whatever I burn off, I eat. That's one thing. But I heard another quote or a phrase, and this is a little bit darker. I've never seen a hearse pull in a vault. So no matter how much money you have, no matter how much money you're making, if you're not around to enjoy it, it doesn't matter. You got to live life. You have to. So there's a lot of interesting quotes that I've came across over this last few months that just really opened my eyes to a lot. And we love what we do. That's why they say you never work a day in your life if you love what you do. So I love my job. I know you love your job, but it's easy to get distracted. And in the merchant service industry, we'll target on that real quick. it's residual income jobs. So the more you make, the more you get excited, the more you want to make, and it can easily lead you down uh, a road where you tend to forget about some of the simpler things because you're so excited to do what you do. But that does not matter if you're not here to enjoy it.
It really doesn't. It
Yeah.
really doesn't. The hearse pulling of like I've never seen a hearse pulling a vault, and you're so right.
Yep.
We are gonna, end our time on this earth, and when we do, whatever we have is gonna be dispersed to whoever, and none
Hmm.
of that stuff matters. I mean, at that moment in time, I don't know if you've ever sat through probate or dealt with a loved one passing, but probably 99 times out of 100, there's gonna be somebody fighting for something,
Right.
and it just they don't care that you died. They
Mhm.
really don't.
Yeah.
They in fact they enough people are probably happy because if they finally get stuff or things, and
Yep.
it's annoying, and having been through so many different probates and so many different
Hmm.
loved ones passing and seeing the greed that goes into it,
Yeah.
um yeah, no, I don't like it.
Yeah, I've never experienced that, so I can't relate to it 100%. But I did have a really good friend of mine that had a loss, and before the funeral's even over, I heard stories of the calls and the emails. Can I get this? Can I have that? What are you gonna do with this? What? And I'm just like I'd never been around it, and it was really interesting to see that part of life that I'd not seen. I
Yeah.
it was I you know I I'm lost for words now, and that's one situation, not to
Yep.
mention, the handful or several that you've seen.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's not the divorce and death are the two moments in life that bring out some of the darkest just the darkest times for people.
Right.
All of a sudden, the people you never anticipated to act in such a demonic, um, dark way are, and it's just like there's a movie, a great one. It's one of the Knives Out series, The Glass Onion or something like that.
Okay.
Um, Fantastic show about how this very, very wealthy, um, I can't remember if he's the grandfather or the father of this group of people passes, and he ends up leaving everything to his he had a live-in like nurse type thing,
Mhm.
and he basically left everything to the live-in nurse, and just to see the viral, just the oh man, the darkness that people, and it's just so accurate, and it's just so unfortunate. And again, tying it all into that mental health, if we were in a space where we weren't concerned with a lot of those things, where my mind was at ease, then I wouldn't care about those things. And that's one of the reasons why we do what we do in
Mhm.
this residual income, is so I don't ever have to care. I don't want to have to care. When somebody passes, I get to just be there to support, to console, because it impacts people in so many different ways. Um, and now is where we're going to go ahead and get into some of the little sensitive topics like suicide.
Mhm.
So doing what I do, and back in December, uh, I was able to get back to something that I had missed for many years, for about 2 years now. I was able to get back into serving the veteran population, the veteran community. I'm a U.S. Army vet, and I uh, I struggled for many years with drug addiction, um, and I struggled with just a massive addictive personality. But it was an internal struggle that I didn't really share with anybody. And one day, basically, um, I found myself ER surfing, trying to get painkillers, and I was an active duty cop at the time, doing all these things. And so I recognized that I'm basically going to be spending the rest of my life either in an ER or in a prison. And so that was a change for me. I got sober. I ended up taking I quit being a cop, and spent a lot of my time going through my own little mental health journey. Took me years. Took me years. But I found a thing. I found nonprofit. I found service again, and that's what I was missing. Was that, serving people
Hmm.
was was being able to to support other people. Now, granted, those who are broken tend to like to do that more than those who are not broken. But I recognized I needed to get myself not broken. I had fixed a lot of the things that just weren't working.
I would say, like, if I had a dark time, it was when I was going through middle school, late elementary and middle school, where I was bullied a lot. I was bullied a lot to the point where I uh I I'd lay in bed at night, crying in tears, and I really didn't care if I lived or died. So my struggle was being bullied, and being bullied is it's real, especially with such a an adolescent, age, where your mind is still being developed and forming, and you can be influenced, and just don't really know uh what you're really experiencing. It could be very, very scary. So I went through a phase with that for a few years, and it was hard. It was really tough. And kind of what got me through is I didn't know about nonprofits and organizations like that, but I started going to Teens for Christ meetings at my school, outside the school, and I wanted to just have something that I was really excited about, I was happy with, where I felt like no matter what the tone of my skin color was, or all these things I was being bullied around, didn't matter. So that was something that really helped and saved me, years ago.
I mean,
Emotionally
bullying is
thinking about it, it's yeah, it's haven't thought about it in a while, but it's real. It's
it
real.
is real.
Yeah.
It is real, and it impacts you not just then.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think about it. That shapes who you are. You and I have some similar stories, some similar experiences.
Yep.
Got went through some of the same stuff in middle school. Went through um, a lot of that stuff. So what you did was you found a community, uh, and we've talked. I think we've referenced this book in the past, but if you haven't ever read the book Tribe, you need to put that on your list.
Okay.
All of you, every single human being needs to read the book Tribe. Tribe is literally just about understanding that we are, as humans, we are connection based creatures. We require community. It's what's happened throughout the dawn of mankind. We I mean, we just thrive on a tribal mentality.
Yeah.
And in modern society, we have in the last 100 years, we have de-evolutionized what has been a part of human society for since the dawn of man. We took away communal living, we took away communal thought, we took away communal anything, and we said, "Oh, by the way, you're if you want to be successful in this life, you need to live on your own. You need to do everything for yourself, and that's it. That's your focus is self, self, self." Where again, throughout history, it was always, "What are we doing for each other? How are we going to
Yep.
grow together?" Communal living and obviously think about this though, but like there's a lot of cultural households that still do live in communal living, but Americans, we've decided that that was wrong. Where I just disagree now, and now that I've kind of seen some of these things, and what that means really is you might have grandma living with mom and dad living with 6, 7 kids, and there's nothing wrong with that. Our culture says you're not successful if you have to live like that. That's not the case.
Hmm.
That's not the case. The whole point of that has nothing to do with the fact that you're how much money's in your bank account. The whole point of that is it takes a tribe. In
Hmm.
order for us to go ahead and just be successful or to survive as humans, it takes a tribe. If you took away right now Wi-Fi away from the United States of America, what would happen?
I
I
Not electricity, not the
right,
cars, Wi-Fi,
Wi-Fi.
internet.
Yeah. Um, I don't know, but I think you do. Go ahead.
Well,
Tell
I mean, like
your thoughts.
it would force it would cause a lot of people to go into anarchy. A lot of people wouldn't know what to do, know how to operate, but it would also force humans to have to interact with other humans,
Yeah.
which again is what's I mean, it's just I think uh that community style of just mindset again, I'm going to reference Tribe. When you read, so Tribe was written by a war journalist. This guy, I can't remember his name and I can't remember a lot of the details about what he did, but I believe he was over in the UK. But he was a wartime journalist, and he just talked about the way that humans basically developed and grew together.
Mhm.
And you know, in previous societies, well, just think about this: if you have aging parents today, aging parents, we go put them in a home.
Mhm.
I don't want to deal with that. I would rather pay somebody else to deal with that. Well, think about this, and this is because I'm dealing with aging parents right now. And this is, and we do have them in a home, but it's mainly because of the medical piece of the puzzle. But
Right.
either, regardless of that, what happens is they're typically stuck into a home and they're not, then the visitation stops, or it's only like, hey, I'm going to go see you on Christmas or whatever it is, right? Like just very rare. Now, what happens is obviously there's an abandonment mentality, and so the aging parents, think about it from their point of view. Yeah, they want to see you, but the reason why they want to see you outside of love obviously is because they don't have much time on this earth and they
Exactly.
know it,
Yep.
and they don't want to spend that with a nurse. They
Mhm.
don't want to spend that with strangers. They
Right.
want to spend that with family.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of a tribe, is to be around those who love and cherish and those people. And so from a mental health perspective, you know, it's so tough because like it's exhausting to be able to take care of the family, but then also have to be able to go take care of mom and dad, and then be able to have to go take care of the company. Like, yeah, it is exhausting.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, it's going to impact you. And so you need to make sure that you make that time for yourself. And it's okay. It's okay. Like, for example, we have these homes for a reason. Um, it's okay. Just don't abandon. But then also, what are you doing for yourself? Because if you're going to continue, and this is actually what I'm dealing with. I don't want to use the word dealing with, but
Mhm.
this is the experience that we're currently having in my household. Is we have aging parents. My wife's parents are actually the same age as my grandparents, and so I have aging grandparents. She has aging parents. Well, now we're working with and deciding how much time do we get to go ahead and spend here, do this, do that,
Right.
while also looking out for the betterment of the mentality. So my wife has this, she, when you go see your parents, it's I don't want to say it's like a chore list, but that's kind of the way it's turned into, where we finally, and this is what we had to do, is we had to take ownership. If you don't change it, you choose it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so every single time we went over there, it was just a chore. So instead we had a conversation with them, and we changed it. We said, you know, here's the thing. We want to be there. We want to be more of a community with you. And I want to do the things, you know, save some things for me to do, right? Like I'll grit the stuff off the top shelf. Like, for example, we went over there the other day and we got the boxes out so they can pack up all of their Christmas decorations. Right? And then we put those away because it's not easy for them to do those things. But the majority of the time we were playing a game, Arizona Rummy, um, card game. I don't know how to explain a lot of the games because I didn't play them growing up. But being with my in-laws, they play them all every night, every day. Every time we go over there, we're playing a game, and
Right.
that right there is community. And so we're able to kind of be there and to be present rather than be there and checking things off of a list.
So, being present is huge, and I'm sure you've seen this before many times. Is we'll go out as a family. I'll have lunch meetings, dinner meetings, and we'll look up and we'll see a family of four, family of five, couple parents, two, three, four kids, not one conversation. They're all on their phones. Exactly. And we have a rule, at the dinner table, no phones, no phones. And I'll tell you what one of the neatest things, and if anybody listening or sees this can pick up on this and do this, this was absolutely amazing. One of my friends told me about a game called Rose and Thorn, which sitting at the dinner table, every night, my wife and I with the kids when they were in elementary school, through middle school, and even now, I got a boy who's in college. He's a junior in college. My youngest is a sophomore, and in high school, we still do this. Not so much now, but every day when they were younger, and it really just not caused, but it created conversation. So we would go around the table and I'd ask, my kids, what's your rose for today? What was your rose for today? And anything good and positive, to where he could be like, you know what? I had my zipper, my sweatshirt stuck, and somebody came and helped me, and that kind gesture, that was a rose. Or because roses are pleasant and happy. Or somebody went over and gave him a sticker because it says, like cool guy, and they wanted me to have it. Just these little, and it started, conversation. And then it also, we would go around the table. Then the other side of that is what was your thorn? What and this one's really important because it started conversation amongst us as a family, husband and wife, with our kids, that a thorn is negative, and we may not have known certain situations, or what they our children may have been experiencing without that. So you'd go around, what was your thorn today, and then they would share something, whether it's about a grade that they didn't do so well on, or maybe they were bullied, or just something that wasn't pleasant. And then that would lead to conversations, and we'd go around the whole table. And when it would get to me, what's my rose? Oh, I closed a really big account today, or I closed a deal that I'd been building that relationship for 3 months, and it all came to fruition, and I closed a deal. Or I got an unexpected call from my mom, just to say hi, and it made my day. And that rose and thorn, we did that for years, every single night. And you want to talk about understanding and communication and conversations amongst the family. It was probably the neatest thing that I've done as a parent, or in the top list. It's pretty cool. It's pretty
That
cool.
is cool. I like that. That's we do something similar on our Friday calls, wins and escalations.
Yeah. You follow, yeah.
Rose and thorns. It is. It's a way to go ahead and have a conversation,
Yeah.
but it forces a kid who generally just doesn't want to talk,
Hmm.
to have more than a yes or no answer at
Yep.
the dinner table.
Yep.
And I like the fact that you brought that up too. You guys do family dinners, and
Hmm.
that was something again that was. I didn't come from a traditional, I should say, household. So when I got married, my wife, that was something that she did, was it's family dinners, and I wasn't accustomed to
Right.
family dinners. It was always get your plates and go figure out where you're going to eat. I have a back injury, so I like to stand when I eat.
Hmm.
I stand as often as I possibly can because it just hurts to stay seated. And so it was it was a change. So
Yeah.
it forced us to be around the table. Not only did it do that, though, it forced community.
Yeah.
Uh, and community, again, on that tribal mentality, community is the number one thing for survival.
Yeah.
We have to be able to have trust and faith and joy with those around us, and at least have a group that is ours. The other thing that we did was we played games
Yeah.
at the dinner. After dinner, we would play. We played
I know you didn't play
years.
spades. You'd be a little bit better at it if you did.
Oh, oh, Miss. Hey, we're tied right now, 1-1, and that's where this guy
we,
has to go.
we are. I had to throw that out there. I had to
Oh,
throw
that's
it out
good.
there.
That's good. No, we played years of exploding kittens. Actually, that
Yeah.
was our game, and
Yeah.
so and then we started playing all the other ones that they would come up with. Right now, Unstable Unicorns is my favorite. We still play them as adults.
Hmm.
It's a lot of fun. But anyway, that community is something. Again, it's just when you have intrusive thoughts, it's because you're by yourself, and when you isolate, your mind becomes your companion, and at the end of the day, that's not a good thing.
Right. Right.
Your mind is not your best friend. You require a human connection outside of your mind, and this is where I'm not sure AI is going to take us, but like you do, we require that connection. And um I gotta say, it's been because I've been married now for 10 years. It has not been easy. There's been a lot of ups and downs. um I didn't I didn't recognize, and again, we go back to trauma's trauma, and we have a lot of responses that we do just because of the things that have happened to us. They're not necessarily on purpose, but they're unaddressed. And so as you address things, you start to recognize that, oh, I'm doing this. It's not an excuse for the behavior, but it is a reason. And so what I found was I never ever really would um have a conversation with my wife by looking her in the eye.
Okay.
I always struggled with that, and I know why, because I was never a committed person. I never ever wanted to stay in a relationship. That was my thing. I always, and I don't want to joke about it, but I when I talk to people, I always tell people I'm a professional leaver. So the fact that I've stayed for 10 years was this was something that I wanted rather than something that I thought I wanted. And
Hmm.
so I started making that effort just last year. Again, just a lot of things that I've been trying to put into place to make sure that I'm setting myself up, that Brian is going to be here and available.
Right.
Because I've been where you've been, Mitch. I've been in those moments where I didn't want to be here. I've had suicide attempts. I've had overdoses. I've had these things that changed, could have ended my life. And I mean, I wouldn't be here today to have these conversations with you. So I'm very fortunate, but
Hmm.
it's addressing some of these things, because there's a lot of shame, right, in the behaviors that we do. And I still have the shame. I still have the guilt that I was doing what I was doing. I still have the shame and the guilt that I was a professional leaver, and none of that's is a proud, moment for myself. However, I look at it today, and um, they call that you only live once or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's also a very true statement. And so what I had to learn was, if this is, you only have one of these things called life, and again, I'm going to reiterate that you only have one. Um, you get to be in charge of that. And so back to that quote,
Hmm.
you get to be in charge. You get to choose, or you get to change. And it is okay to be happy. You guys got to understand, at the end of the day, not everything that we are set up to do, or the way that life has brought us to today. You're 53 years old, I'm 44 years old, or I'm 43 years old, I'm almost 44. But not everything we do has to stay, right? Like,
Yeah.
so just because we're where we're at in life doesn't mean that this is how life has to be, as long as we're growing.
Yeah.
And so look inside yourself.
Yeah.
You only live once. You have to make those moments for yourself. So fitness, Mitch, is something that brings you joy,
Yeah.
and you're
I'll point
making that
out,
change.
I've been fit for one morning, but yeah, I know in the past it did, and I just it's easy to get distracted. But I want to be here for my kids. You know, they're my why, my motivation, and it's crazy now because I'm at that age where on my social media you hear and see about people that you've been to school with that are passing, and it just, we're at that age where we just don't know. We don't know how much time we have left, and if I can work on myself and just try to help contributes to some of that longevity. There's things that you can control, some things you can't, and I've definitely neglected a bit, but I'm gonna I've got my why, and you know, that's, you know, work is always going to be here. You know, like, I can always, you know, do emails and stuff, but you know, being part of you know, our team, talking, spending time with, you know, you and JP, just really sharing the importance of, you know, that family time, or that extra moment. You know, I know you're with, you know, your son today. You know, just you gotta carve out the time in this one life that we have, and it's easy to get, you know, complacent, caught up with stuff. But I'm, you know, starting with, you know, fitness. I've always been a family guy. You know, I've always, I go up and I visit my mom, which is great because I can just, you know, I can work on my computer. Take my computer, I can work, you know, anywhere. I was always the coach for my kids, you know, sports teams, and I've always been that hands on, you know, interactive dad, and you know, father, which has been great. So that with work has never been out of my forefront, but I would sacrifice a lot of things of myself, you know, with the fitness and, you know, eating and stuff. So it's I'm excited. I'm excited for this year. I'm excited for this year to start developing that routine, that habit, and just continuing to, you know, improve things in areas. I want to circle back to what you said earlier about how you can be, you know, happy today because of things in the past. You know, how you set yourself up. Zig Ziglar said that 10 years ago, he decided that he was going to be happy today. So 10 years ago, he wanted to be happy, you know, with where he's at, making those sacrifices. And it was a little over 10 years ago where I started, I Googled and researched residual income jobs, and that's how I found merchant services. And as you know, as an entertainer for, you know, 30 years, but I knew that wasn't how I wanted to retire. I wanted something more. I wanted something different. I wanted to be able to be that hands-on father with my children. And if I had that residual income, if I didn't want to take a gig from my magician job on a Saturday or Sunday, or take, you know, that weekend off, so I can control my schedule, but I needed that supplemental, you know, replacement income. So 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I worked hard to put things in motion so I would be happy today. So I never missed their games, their Boy Scout, their Cub Scout meetings, their Pinewood Derbies, their campouts, and it's important. So I've always held on to that. My father worked a lot, and you know, I definitely appreciate his, you know, work for keeping that roof over our head. And then he coached me a few seasons, and that was great. And I knew how I wanted to show up as a father, and it's some things you just gotta put first. You know, other things can wait.
Other things can wait. You're right, and you have to figure out what those priorities are for you. Now, if you're in a scenario to be able to make every single game and
Mm,
be there for all the events and stuff like that, man, kudos and good for you for being that person and
mhm.
being available. You know,
Yeah.
I know a lot of dads and a lot of moms who they're struggling just to put the food on the table. So making a game, for example, would cost them to probably not be able to pay the electric bill.
Yeah.
And I was in the same boat as you, Mitch. I wanted to be there for everything. If they had, I didn't care what it was. My daughter was, at one point in time, she was the manager for the football team. So like she would bring them the water and
Oh
do
yeah.
stuff like that. I
Yep.
didn't care. I wanted to be there. I wanted to support her. I wanted to see
Yep.
it. I wanted to, right? Like so, um, yeah. I mean, I get that, and also understand that, you know, like you said, you don't hate your father for not being available every single time that you had something.
Mhm. Yep.
You know, he was working hard. He was putting food on the table. He's giving you guys a roof over the head.
Yep.
Um,
Yep, and a lot of that
it's
was my perspective. I never complained or got upset about the times he wasn't there. I appreciated when he was.
that's exactly right.
So,
Yeah,
I held on to that, and it's neat because what was I doing? My older son, um, Carson was, you know, home for the holiday break. He went back last night, and I forget what I said that we were gonna do about, you know, going out or something. And he's like, you know, Dad, you've spent a lot of time with me. You know, you can go do, you know, your thing, and or something like that. And I said, Bub, I said, you're going to be graduated from college soon. I don't know where you're going to live. I said, there's going to be a time where I wish I could hang out with you, and I'm not going to be able to. So I'm not giving up this, this night or this time, at all. And
That's good, man. That's
yeah,
good.
so.
Well, I'm gonna turn back a little bit and come back to something we were talking about again, and I don't want to be too dark on this, but
Mhm.
I do want to talk about this. So I started to go down the road of what I was doing in December before my dogs interrupted me.
Yeah.
Um, which, by the way, I have really good dogs for them to sit here and not bark for the majority of this, but I've got two outside dogs that are just going ballistic right now because they're mountain dogs and that's what their job is to do. So,
Mhm.
but in December, I was able to get back to working with second chance vets. I was able to get back to vets who have, um, technically it's vets and people because what I'm doing is I'm presenting in the prisons. Uh, we do a thing called peer mentoring, and that's just basically you and me having a conversation outside of work, outside of anything, just being available to each other. So if there's ever a moment where you can be available to somebody, do it.
Mhm.
If you have the capacity to be able to be available, open space. They call it in the mental health space, hold space. So hold space for that person in those moments and be present.
Mhm.
And so what we do is we teach a class. It's a real, I say quick, it's a 6 hour class. And you can probably guess I speak for about 5.5 hours of those 6 hours. It's something I'm very passionate about. I feel like, again, if we can create more of that tribal mentality, a lot of the scenarios where we find ourselves in today would not exist. So back to some of the reasons why that got me down this road was, did you know that 2 million people are incarcerated in the American prison systems?
No, I never knew the number.
We arrest a lot more people per capita than any other country in the world. It's insane. There's a lot of people in our prison systems, and it's because we have we America went down the gentleman rule back in the late 1800s, and so we started to criminalize a lot of the stuff that was just a social norm. And so what happened is it made it very simple and very easy for somebody to go to prison. The other staggering stat is we lose about 135 people, just people, to suicide on a daily basis. And what I do now, I work with other organizations that work with all people, but I also very target. I work with our veteran population because the vets, while the 135 number is a lot, and it's 135 too many, the veterans make up anywhere between 19 and 22 of those numbers, of that number. And the veteran population, depending on what stats you want to look at, only makes up 3 to 5% of the entire population. And so for us to make up close to 20%
Mhm.
of suicide populations, that doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
The other staggering stat that just kind of hurt a lot, especially with my history and my past, was um, of the 2 million, vets make up 10% of that prison population. So vets, the people who served this country, the people who had to go fight wars to keep America America, have a higher percentage of chance of committing suicide, of causing harm against themselves, or of causing harm against somebody else. It's insane to me. And here we are, we're losing vets left and right to suicide or to getting handcuffed. And so I again, in the tribal mentality, which also is something that we work with in our veteran community, but also
Mhm.
it doesn't matter who's a part of your tribe, just make sure you have a tribe. Um,
Yeah.
because a lot of these things, right? Like and I hear it left and right. I've lost a lot of brothers and sisters to suicide. They're continuously fighting a battle, and it doesn't matter. Again, when we talked about in the beginning, trauma is trauma. You got to understand that um, somebody who's been um, assaulted as a child, either sexually or physically, um, that doesn't necessarily go away. And so those humans then become adults. And whenever things happen to you as a child, you tend to think that it's okay. Like, oh, it happened to me, and it's okay because that's the way life is. It's not the way life is. It's not the way life should be. Unfortunately, for a lot of us, it is the way life is, and so it's again mental health. So does that act have to define who you are today? And I'm here to tell you it doesn't. It could be a part of your story.
Hmm.
It could help you out and helping other people out.
Right.
And we can get past it. I don't want to see anybody going to prison. I don't want to see anybody committing suicide. I want us to live in a utopian society. I do recognize that that's not necessarily something that can happen
Yeah.
on 100%. But if we're not working towards something like that, then what are we doing?
Right.
Yeah. And so again, when we talk about mental health, the reason why I talk about these very, very specific, very sensitive topics is, you know, childhood trauma tends to make up a lot uh, of of mental health related mishaps. Childhood trauma then turns into adult trauma, or unaddressed childhood trauma then turns into unaddressed adult trauma. Um, if you've if you've experienced something,
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you that while it's not okay, um, it is okay to actually talk about it, to address it. Not to me, not to. I'm not a therapist by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a peer, and this is something that I'm very, very passionate about. I want more of us people to be better peers to each other. Like you said with the bullying,
Yeah.
that was something that. So I was a bully. Um, turned. I ended up. Uh, I mean, I had some other issues that had happened to me that I felt like drove me into this violent middle school time frame. And then I watched a kid with special needs just get bullied constantly,
Yeah.
and that clicked in here. When I say I was violent, I then turned my violence towards the bullies. It was just one of those things I just didn't like. Now, I'm not justifying my actions, obviously, whenever I was a kid by any stretch of the imagination. But what I am saying is it exists. It's such a sensitive topic. It exists even in the veteran community. If you like just talking about this as a vet, other vets would be like, "Well, I didn't have to deal with that. You're weak." So it's going to continue no matter what.
Right.
And so a lot of mental health has to do with you, obviously, as a person, what you're doing for yourself, fitness, hobbies, things like that to bring you joy, creating your tribe, but it also has to do with a thing called flushing the turds. And it's okay to flush the turds out of your life. Turds are people. Turds are people that don't belong in your life. And this has been something that's been hard for me, but easy for me as of late. Um, if you're not here to help make my life better while I'm making your life better, then we are an acquaintance. And that's where that stops.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? You can we can't control other people, but we can control how we show up. And when I was in high school or middle school, elementary, getting bullied when I was in high school, I made it a point to spend time to those that maybe were, getting picked on or didn't, look as athletic as, some other ones or didn't have the grades of some people. And just whatever they were, working through to try to be there, for them, to let them know that there's, nice, friendly people out there. And, even as adults, not to reveal too much, but a quick story. There's a situation over the last few months that has been where a gentleman was put in our life, within our community friend group, or not really friend group, but community. And he seemed like he was off, like something, just a little bit different. And I was try to be nice and interact, and people's like, oh, you're wasting time. he's a jerk, he's just mean and rude and stuff like that. And then it came out that he had a little bit of a special need condition, something going on. And I'm like, you know what, if people just judged because they don't know how and why people may appear to be a certain way. So I really wanted to go above and beyond, and I made it a point to try to just get that rapport. Now it's I made that effort, and others like, oh, I don't know why you waste your time. But now the interactions I have are really good. They're nice. He's got that trust, that is built up, and it just makes me feel really good. And I didn't want to listen. Not trying to put myself up on a pedestal, but so many people were dismissing this person because they didn't know what struggle was going on. But I did not want that to. I didn't want to follow that path. I'm like, if you extend a branch and just that act of kindness, especially for somebody that's struggling, it can really go a long way. So I would say, just control how you show up to others. People have stories. You don't know what they may be dealing with, physically, mentally, health, and just try to show up and be positive, because we don't know. We don't know. Just to think about how quick, like some of the people that I know are just, gonna dismiss this person because they didn't know or understand why there was never really a smile or a hi. They just took it as a negative. So
It's easy. It's easy because you're not jovial. You're not, doing the norm. You're against the grain.
yeah.
Why? Why?
Mhm.
Now, some people are just grumpy,
Yeah.
and that's okay. If they want, and again, you get to decide how you're going to interact with those people.
Right.
And so, um, yeah, it's and like you said, you showed up. So
Yep.
I really, I can't say this enough. You have to be available. You have to show up. I'm not saying that go out and just become this responder, this first responder to
Right.
all these things.
Yeah.
No, you have to just show up to those that matter, and know that there's resources and things like that for those that you can't be available for.
Exactly.
Which is what I'm going to share with you guys right now. There's a veterans crisis line for those that have vets in their lives, the veterancrisisline.net, and the suicide and crisis lifeline for all people, regardless of if you served or not, is 988. Just on your phone, 988, call. That'll bring you up to the suicide and the crisis lifeline. There are people there making space. They're trained to make space. We are just trained to hold space, whereas these people are trained in some of those things. So they will have a lot more of they'll have a lot more of the resources and those things available to people in need. Don't dismiss them. Like Mitch said, because that could have been you, that could have been me, that could have
Mhm.
reaching out. And if the affirmation or the dismissiveness existed,
Right.
unfortunately, in somebody in those moments, well, nobody wants me here, clearly, and so they start to make some pretty poor choices. Um, and I don't want these poor choices. 135 is 135 too many. 2 million is 2 million too many. Uh, we have to be better as a tribe, as a community. In this space, for example, we're in the merchant services space. This is definitely something that, from our aspect, and I'm not going to speak for Mitch, but
Mhm.
I know that in this space, uh, it's easy to be able to communicate with like-minded individuals. And so it's going to be harder for me to go to a different industry and to want to have a conversation about some of these things. But we're here. Um, you guys have access to all of our phone numbers. It's on all of our signature lines.
Yep.
If you're in this space, or if you're watching this and you just need somebody to talk to, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to answer the phone right then and there. But if it's about something like this, we will make that time.
Absolutely.
just without question. I would rather, this world is a much better place with you in it, which was something that a buddy of mine told me. Unfortunately, he told me a few months prior to him committing suicide himself, was this world is a much better place with you in it. And it is, it really is. So, uh, I know this was not a happy topic, but it is one of the ones that I wanted to talk about, especially at the beginning of the year, because
Right.
we're in this weird spot. And a lot of people don't know this, but springtime is actually where suicides and criminality and things like that actually increase. You would think it'd be in the holiday season, but
Yeah.
it's not. So it's actually coming up. What happens is you start to see the outside nature and stuff like that is one of the most healing things for any human. And the problem is whenever you don't know how to enjoy it, you don't see a positive in sunshine. And you're in Florida, so you guys can go to the beach. I'm in Colorado.
Right.
I've got nothing but woods and mountains and gorgeousness. And if I don't see the beauty that's around me, there's something wrong.
Right.
And those are the moments that it's go ahead and, hey, let's have that call. Let's have that conversation,
Yep.
fireside chat, whatever you want to do. So take that moment. Mitch, this again was a sensitive day, a sensitive topic, not one that we actually anticipated. One that happened because of the conversations that we had this morning. And so, outside of all this stuff, what I wanted to do was, uh, you're always good at closing us out on a much more positive note. So if you're able to do that, given the subject of this, let's go ahead and do that.
All right. Positive note. You know what? Let me go ahead and show you guys something here real quick. It's a lot of people, work and things can get tough, but when you're go ahead and leave that. Can you read that right there?
Yeah, right there we can. So how do I reach the 1%? Do what the 99% are not doing.
Exactly. So I put that up on my wall here in our office, and I'll probably drop that comment, once a week. Like people saying, like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Because to be part of that 1%, you got to do what 99% of your opponents or other people aren't doing. So if and you said something, I don't know, I think you mentioned a little bit today on our call, but I know over the last few management calls that we've had is that if people want something bad enough, they're going to go after it. They're going to get it. They're going to make it happen, and not just with work and career, whether it's like my fitness goal, I want it, I'm going to make it happen with anything, anything. If you want to, you just if opportunity doesn't knock, make a door, figure it out. Don't stop. Every attempt discarded is another step forward. There's a lot of mistakes I've made with work and business and career over many years, but it's helped me get to the point where I'm at now. Don't be afraid to make that mistake. Don't be afraid to fail. You're not going to get the right answers or the results unless you take that chance. And you have to fail to figure out what's not working until you figure out what does. So if you ever feel like you failed in effort, I would just encourage you to look for the next opportunity to try to figure it out in a different way. Just grow from not knowing right away what to do. Just learn from it.
I like it. Thank you for that. And welcome to 2026, everybody. We're
Happy New
we're
Year,
glad
guys.
that you guys are here. Happy New Year. Sensitive topic today, but it's one that we just had to go ahead and do. Looking forward to this year. Looking forward to growing with everybody. If you want to do anything within the merchant services space, obviously reach out. We want to help you obtain those goals. We want to help you do what the 1% are willing to do. That's where we're at right now. So yeah, thanks everybody. We're looking forward to this year. Lots more to come. This year we've talked about doing a lot more um, trainings on or podcasts on just the rudimentary steps of merchant services and how to get started and all that stuff. So we're looking forward to it.
Perfect. Sounds good. Happy New Year, everybody. Till next time.